The transition that you've covered over the last couple of months, and you nailed it, was the Federal Reserve beginning to lead the market and not taking that parental tone towards market participants as if the market is a toddler. Is that going to continue in the coming months as well, at a time where maybe people's ambitions, their optimism about fiscal stimulus coming from DC wanes just a little bit? Will the Fed continue to move on the front foot?
So my gut says yes, it continues. The Fed wants to go from following markets to leading markets. The only thing that would stop that would be a significant slowdown. We also have the ECB that is in a very difficult situation because it has promised QE till the end of December, but now there's reason to be less stimulative. So what are they going to do? Are they going to end up pressing on the accelerator and the brake at the same time? So this is going to be a really interesting time for central banks. And I think it's a hard time for central banks, especially if you don't get the policy breakthrough in the United States.
Well, an interesting time. But in your book, I took you as warning about the possibility of just staying dependent upon central banks. We needed the governments to step in with fiscal policy. What is the danger here, in fact, that we may not make that transition after all?
So if we do not make that transition, which is a big if we do not make that transition, we're going to find a few things. We'll find out that central banks are less effective at repressing financial volatility and less effective at promoting growth. The political system is going to get more complicated. Politics will contaminate economics even more. And then markets are going to have to ask themselves, does it make sense where valuations are given the economic and political background? So the important thing is that the road that we've been on for such a long time, the so-called new normal, is coming to an end because it's being eaten up by its own contradictions. And the good news is if we pivot to a policy-driven recovery in growth and a boost in earnings. If not, we're going to go the other way.
So give us a time frame. How long do we have? Is this a matter of 60 days, 6 months, a year? How long do we have?
I think we have a couple of years. Why? Because there's a lot of cash out there. So as we've seen, and I go back to this notion, which I think is a very powerful notion, it tells you what the mindset is, this notion that cash is trapped on the sideline, right? So as long as there's cash, that is going to limit the market reactions. But there'll come a time when that's no longer going to be there.